Okay, we're out in the carport now. It's time to start sanding this. I am fortunate in that both cabinets I've been working on were 1960s cabinets with the original Retolexing with factory on it, which means it was glued on with hide glue. And what that means is I've got to sand the cabinets now, but I don't have to get them absolutely back to bare wood clean. If this were some sort of white or yellow glue or contact cement, I would have to completely strip it all off, but old hide glue will stick to old hide glue. What I've got to do is take this fuzz off. This is the backing from the original Tolex, and so I'm going to go along and I'm going to knock it all back down smooth, and then the next thing I'm going to do after I knock it smooth is I'm going to start inspecting for dents and dings, and we're going to fill those in. This is actually the most important step of the whole process, because if you don't get the remnants of the old covering off, the new glue won't stick, especially if it's been redone with a modern adhesive. And if you leave dents and dings in the wood, they will telegraph through the new covering. So this is, we're not anywhere near done, but this is probably the most critical step. So let's get sanding. after sanding. Like I say, I'm not taking it completely down to naked wood. It doesn't matter if you leave a little bit of the old glue and the old Retolexing on, as long as it's smooth. So we've got this smooth. As I was sanding, and I went over this twice, I like to sand it once to where I think it's right, and then I like to go over it again and just do another hit. And I always feel like the second time is when you really tune it in. But as I'm going around sanding, I'm looking for dents, and this cabinet really isn't that dented. Now you can see around the screw holes where it's dented, but that's just because the screw has pulled the piece of hardware in. Around the joint here, there's some places I'm going to fill in, but for the most part, this cabinet doesn't have dents and dings like the other one did. The other one was pretty full of them. Now what this cabinet does have is it's got some places like this and like that and like that. These are these are from the Fender factory. This is where it was there was a knot or a hole in the wood, and they filled it in the factory. Of course, that's a screw hole for the handle. So I'm just going to go around and I'm going to kind of fill in some of these holes in the corners here, but it's just not, this cabinet's in pretty decent shape. Also, just while it's here and naked, these Fender cabinets were made from pine boards. They weren't plywood. This is a pine board. It's joined right in the middle, so this is actually two. This is 11.5 inches deep, so it's a two 5 3/4 inch boards joined together. But it's a real piece of wood with real knots and real defects. So I'm going to use some Bondo to fill in the holes here, and then we're going to resand it. So when it comes to filling dents, dings, gouges, oopsies, what I like to use is Bondo body filler. Now you can get this at your local Napa store or your hardware store, and what it is, it's a 2-part resin. You got the resin there, and you've got the hardener there. We're gonna mix it up on this piece of cardboard, and then I'm gonna fill in all the little imperfections I can find. I'm gonna be careful to stay away from these holes. You don't want to fill up your screw holes. I'm gonna get it as tight as I can. I don't want it much excess. And I'm gonna go back and sand everything else off. Just for comparison, we'll take a look at this joint line here, and I'm gonna try to fill all the little bitty imperfections in with Bondo. Alright, here's that exact same corner after I Bondoed it, and I said that I was going to try to squeegee off all the excess, but as you can see, there's a fair amount. The Bondo sets pretty quick. I'm going to have to wait 10 or 15 minutes, and then I can go ahead and sand it. Bondo, of course, is mostly used in automotive repair. Even into the 1960s, if there was a small dent or ding or an imperfection, car body men and even the factory would use a lead solder to fill in the dent or ding. They would heat up the body, put the solder in, dab it on, and then they'd sand it smooth. Bondo was really a huge leap forward in terms of a safer to work with material, an easier to work with material. You don't get lead poisoning from sanding Bondo, although it does smell pretty horrible. But it has a bad reputation. But if you use it like you're supposed to, if you pull the dent out as much as you can first, or if you just use it for filling in small imperfections like I did here, it's a great material to work with. So I'm going to give it about 3 more minutes, and I'm going to sand everything smooth. And here's that same corner with the body filler. So as you can see, it's nice and smooth. You run your finger down there. There's 2 ways to really check for smoothness. You can use just a single incandescent light and shine it and look for shadows. That's a great way. And the other way is actually to use your hand. You can feel depressions and dents and dings way better than you can see them. So there's this is it. This is ready to be covered. So the next video we're going to talk about glue. If you got scared off by the ohm video, don't watch the glue video, because there's talk about things that you might not understand. Just in case anybody's wondering, this is in the background. This is the International. We just put a radiator cap on it, and this is a really cool radiator cap. Let's see if it'll focus. It looks like it's right out of the 30s. It's a 4-pound unit, so this thing will release at 4 pounds. Here's the old one that came off of it. The seal was pretty much completely gone. The spring, who knows. Anyway, so I put this new radiator cap on because the engine was running hot. The last time I was out driving it, the needle was all the way pegged. This should be a zero pressure engine, but I got a 4-pound cap to hopefully try to control some of the overheating. And so I drove it once, and the radiator has sprung a leak. I got this piece of plywood underneath, so at some point in the future soon, the radiator's coming out, and we're going to take it to a shop, and hopefully they can, well, hopefully, the best would be if I can actually figure out where it's leaking from and solder it up. If I can't do that, I'm going to take it to a radiator shop. Hopefully they can fix it. The last thing I want to do is have this thing record, because that would be some money. But yeah, that's what it's. That's the other thing that I'm dealing with right now, project-wise.